You've definitely heard of Marvel, right? And you've definitely heard of DC as well. However, you may not have heard of Image Comics. Image Comics, in my opinion, produce comics that are just as good as DC and Marvel. Some are even better. So in this first volume of Ben Recommends, I'm going to recommend some of my favourite Image comics for you to read. The best thing about these series is that you don't have to be a comic book fan in order to get into them. All three of the books that I'm going to recommend are very accessible for new readers. So let's start off with my current favourite series, Invincible. This series is awesome. It is so colourful and original, and it deserves more love. Every time I get the next volume, I want to tell the world how good it is, and you'll find that I often tweet about it. Follow @thebatben on Twitter. It takes inspiration from all corners of the comic book worlds, but it blends them together in this unique, action-packed superhero series, written by Robert Kirkman. It stars Mark Grayson, the son of Omni-Man, whom is one of the world's greatest superheroes. Mark has been waiting all his life for his powers to kick in, and when they do, his whole world is changed. He becomes invincible. This new superheroing life isn't an easy one though. Mark is soon teaming up with the Teen Team and the Guardians of the Globe to take down worse threats than he anticipated. He also runs into some daddy issues, which are an even bigger deal when that daddy in question is Omni-Man. I would like to go on discussing the stories further, but I don't want to spoil anything. There's a whole bunch of weird and wonderful villains and plots awaiting you if you decide to pick up this series. The cast of characters are wonderful, from Adam Eve to Alan the Alien and beyond. This is a perfect series to get into if you're a beginner. It is a self-contained story that won't require any additional reading material other than the ongoing volumes of Invincible. However, saying that, there is a lot to get through. So far, Image have released 20, with the next volume coming out in July. I have only read up to 10 volumes. But I know that when I am finally up to date, it will be a very sad day indeed, and the wait for the next volume will seem endless. Saga is a mixture of Game of Thrones and Star Wars. How awesome does that sound? Well, it lives up to that. It's like Game of Thrones in that there is a lot of fictional politics in the story, and it's like Star Wars because there is a galactic war occurring that our heroes are caught up in. But, unlike Star Wars, we don't know which side to root for. The adventure follows new parents Marco and Alana, along with baby Hazel, who also happens to be the narrator. Look how cute she is. She's so cute. They're like any normal couple, except for the fact that they have betrayed their separate species to be with one another, and now they're considered to be war criminals. Yeah, their races are the two opposing sides of that huge galactic war that I mentioned earlier. This adventure occurs on numerous different planets where numerous battles occur, and there's bounty hunters, crazy aliens, and ruthless robots. It's super cool. Some of the rest of the cast include a cat who has the ability to tell when anyone is lying, a ghost babysitter, and a royal robot with a television for a head. They are all as interesting as they sound. In conclusion, well, I think Marco puts it best when he says, you have got to see this. Next up, The Walking Dead. This is another series written by Robert Kirkman. He's a busy man. The Walking Dead, as many of you may already know, is the story of Rick Grimes. Once upon a time, he was a police officer, an enforcer of the law, but now he's a grizzled survivor in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by zombies. It's a fascinating journey to watch Rick awaken in this horrible new world and then slowly become a completely different person, a badass zombie-killing leader. He has our perspective on this story, and he is also seemingly one of the very few people who are safe from death in the series. Basically, if you read this, don't get too attached to anyone. The deaths in this series are shocking, horrible, and extremely upsetting. Which is good, because that's exactly how it should be. The deaths really help you side with Rick and the rest of the cast, because it really puts you in their shoes, especially when we have really grown to like and care for these characters. If you think zombies are bad, just wait until you see the villains who are alive. The Governor and Negan, to name just a few, are the worst of the worst. If you like the TV show, you'll love the books. I have briefly spoken about how the books are better than the TV show in another video, so I shan't digress again. But just trust me.